Hi everyone. I have a good tutorial for you today. It is mostly a Unity and Skinn tutorial. You're looking at Fuse in the background. There are going to be some extra extra points if you are still using Adobe Fuse. I'm kind of using the Fuse as just sort of an example. So I'm going to go ahead and walk you through the entire process, even though you may not be using Fuse. When we get to Unity and Skinn, that's really the important part of the tutorial. So the idea is, what I want to do is extract all of my blend shapes from a figure. I'm going to use Unity. Now, my original workflow was to use Blender. And I don't know, guys. I honestly think that Blender is maybe quite capable, but not quite ready for prime time. There are some gaps in the interface and in the handling of imported meshes. So my fallback was to go to a program that I know pretty well, which is Unity, and a plugin that has served me very well in the past, Skinn. And just real quick while we are starting here, this is going to require Skinn Pro. Here it is on the Unity Asset Store, and just so everyone is aware, it is also on itch.io for quite a bit cheaper. So my suggestion is to buy it on itch.io. You know, I'm a fan of the Asset Store, but they have plenty of money. Okay, so first of all, let me shrink down. By the way, this figure is my new iPhone Blend Shapes figure, and part of the reason I'm able to do like this ginormous head figure is because my eyeballs are now blend shapes, so I can just rescale the bones in my figure to make the head really big. So that's what I've done here. So just for fun, that's one of the reasons that I am putting together this tutorial for you today. Okay, so real quick, let's go through assembling a figure in Adobe Fuse just so that this tutorial can be absolute complete. I have the original when you go into Fuse and you download the Content Creator package, I have imported the Fit A female base mesh. And let me just add some accessories to her, because this is kind of how you would normally use this figure. So what we have is a base mesh with several sub-meshes that are being her clothing. Now, there's a problem when I tried to extract blend shapes and import blend shapes onto this base mesh. And I did tutorials back in March using my Mac and Skinn and Fuse, and the exports were completely different. I had a much easier time on my Mac. I did not get this vertex order scrambling, which I will show you. And here's the problem. Patapon! Abstract art. Yeah, that's obviously not what we want. Well, also, while I was reviewing, you know, just to make sure that I wasn't like somehow wrong and gaslighting myself, I went back and looked at like some of my Skinn tutorials from March, and wow, how naive and friendly and optimistic I was back in March. So 2020 has cured me of that, but I'm going to try to get back into, you know, just doing regular tutorials. So welcome back to the regular tutorials. As you can see, the dialogue is not quite 100% regular. So the problem when I switched over to my PC was that this base mesh, just the body, I think because of this assembly process where you pick out the head and the arms and the torsos, it messes with the vertex order on the body mesh. Typically the eyes, the teeth, and the lashes are fine, but the body mesh is just completely scrambled. And also, depending on how you import all of these extra bodies, like I make my extra bodies for my store on itch.io, the way that these bodies were assembled, again, depending on if you make your resculpt from the male or the female base meshes that are included in the content creator package, the vertex order is different. There's other problems too in Fuse, but let's keep going. So my issue was that I was getting an inconsistent vertex order when I exported the body. So I got clever and I imported just the body mesh as clothing. So what it's going to do is, this is the same mesh as the body, and it's just, you know, laid on top. The vertices align perfectly, as you can see, like by seeing the grid. And what this is going to do is this body does not go through the assemble process where it's separated into arms and head and torso and legs. This body is always going to have the same consistent vertex order. So if you try this with Fuse, this is a trick to get around this issue. And then I got smart. I'm gonna show you a little bonus. If you add this same cloth body to beards and I think mustaches, but I didn't try it, and here it is, the same cloth body. When I upload to Skinn to Mixamo, the auto rigger will pump all of my blend shapes into this beard mesh. Now that's obviously because when you make a beard, it's supposed to be geometry or hair cards, and you want those to move with the facial blend shapes. So by loading my entire proxy cloth body into the beards category, I'm getting all of my Mixamo facial capture blend shapes on a consistent base mesh that I'll be able to extract later. Okay? Now, I go send to Mixamo. I'm not going to make you wait for that. Instead, I've already done it. Ooh. So here's my figure. As you can see, she still has these like kind of strange vertex flashing because she's got these overlaid meshes on her. But she rigged just fine. I used the full skeleton, and I'm also adding the Mixamo facial capture blend shapes. So the goal here is to be able to extract the blend shapes to put them on another figure with the same base mesh. When I download this figure, there's a trick. Now, I don't have any animations applied. That maybe should be said. I'm not even bothering with this FBX for Unity. What that does is it changes some of the materials. It inverts the roughness map into a shininess map because Unity has to be different. but I'm not even bothering with textures today. So what you want to do, the important part is download in original pose, not T-pose. Original pose. You download, and I'm going to spare you that. I've skipped that too. Okay, so now we are to the actual part of this tutorial. And things are going to speed up from here. Here is my exported figure. Okay. And she, you know, because this is an old FBX, she comes in with like no materials and transparent. So I'm just going to put a very basic material onto all of these meshes at once. Materials, dropping this right onto... Okay, so it's just a blank material with no maps, just so that my figure is opaque. Okay? If you're familiar with the Fuse base mesh in Unity, here's our body. This is the original base mesh, and she's got the blend shapes on her. Now you see overlapping. She's got these other proxy blend shapes that are exactly the same mesh, imported in a different way. So here is our... Oh, I'm just going to turn this one off. That's our main body. I'm just going to disable it. Here is just my proxy shape that was in my bodies category, and as you can see, it received no blend shapes. I'm just gonna hide that for now. And lastly, here is my beards. This is obviously not a beard. This is again that full cloth proxy body, but as you see, it got all of the motion capture blend shapes, and that's what we want. Okay. Now the difference in, just to state it again, the difference in this beard's body and my actual body is that I have no control over the vertex order on the actual body, I assume, because of that assembly process, although Fuse on my Mac did not have this problem. But this is all irrelevant because we all know Fuse is going away. This is why you need to back up your blend shapes so that you can transfer them to other figures. I'm going to show that coming up next. Alright, so in beards, I have all of my blend shapes, and I'm going to show you a couple of tricks. So, at the most basic, we're going to use Skinn, and that's just a utility that is kind of ever-present. We don't need a game object. We just right-click on the skinned mesh renderer, open the Skinn panel. I'm going to go to Skin. Nope, I'm going to go to Shapes, because these are blend shapes. And the command I want is extract all. Extract all. One click. Boom. Now what I have here, let me just hide Fit A. What I have here is not skinned meshes. These are regular Unity mesh renderers. And each one is in the shape of the blend shape, and it's gotten the name of that original blend shape. We've just extracted the blend shapes, but they're just here in the scene. So what you want to do is, if you want to edit these blend shapes or archive them, you know, you're going to have to back this up somehow. You're going to have to extract it, save it, export it out of Unity. And what I did was I found on GitHub an export OBJ in editor script, and it was free. It was just on GitHub. There are quite a few of these export OBJ, so use the one you like. I like this one. It has a few options. I think I will put the link to that one in the video description. It's a pretty useful utility here. Okay, so what it ends up doing is exporting each one of these blend shapes as OBJ. Okay, now you can save it up on your hard drive, you can edit them, you can do whatever you need to do. Okay, so now how do we reverse the process? We've got all of our blend shapes out as static geometry, as basic render meshes. Now how do we turn them back into blend shapes on another base mesh? Well, I showed you in a previous video how to do this like one blend shape at a time. But I'm going to show you another feature of Skinn, which is the blend shape wizard. And this is going to save just a huge amount of time. And by the way, this is how I got my iPhone blend shapes onto the figure that you see, that my avatar that's talking is, since Blender did not work out for me, I imported all of my OBJ, all of my iPhone blend shapes as OBJ, and loaded them onto my figure just like this. So what I have, remember I have this bodies mesh, which is that same vertex order protected cloth body, but it was saved as a different category, that has no blend shapes at all. So I'm going to right click on the skinned mesh renderer, Skinn shapes, load. I know it doesn't say blend shape wizard, but trust me. What it opens up is this. It tells you right here which mesh you're loading these blend shapes onto. And you go ahead and just drag in all of these render meshes. Right here to where it says shape renderers. And here's all of these meshes in the same order with the correct name. And because Skinn is like super easy, it's just one button, you hit create, and let's go check. What is it? Bodies. Here's all the blend shapes loaded on in the correct order. Let's make sure it works. Yeah, see that? Okay, we've extracted the blend shapes from one base mesh. It was the same base mesh, same topology, same vertex order. Extracted them into scene geometry. From there they can be exported, edited, yada yada yada. Brought back in. And be sure to stay to the end, because that's when I explain there are some caveats to the import settings. And then I loaded them onto a separate base mesh, same topology, as all new blend shapes. Just so you know. So what you'll probably want to do is, you know, make some folders to separate these, because you're going to want all of these blend shapes to keep their names, but you're going to want to keep track of where these blend shapes came from. Did they come from the body, or in this case my beard's mesh, or did it come from the eyelashes? You understand, okay? Now I'm going to show you the... Let go. Why are you doing that to me? I'm going to show you a little more. Let me delete all of these. Alright, we're almost to the last... This is the last part of the... Whew, I've been talking a long time. Okay, this is the last part of the tutorial. So, let's go back to Fuse. And I'm going to just pick one of my characters, Dante. And I'm going to do the same trick. I'm going to add the proxy body, the cloth bodies, and let's just give him some, let's give him some pants too. Alright, since I have the cloth proxy body here, that's going to export him with a consistent base mesh with the same vertex order as my fusette in Unity. So I'm going to go ahead and send to Mixamo. He's not going to get the blend shapes, but he will get the rigging. So let's pretend the Mixamo apocalypse happens. And we can still rig our fused figures, but we can't get the blend shapes. So what we're going to do now is transfer the blend shapes from our archived version of Fit A onto our rigged character. So I've imported him into Unity. I'll show you how to transfer the blend shapes. No muss, no fuss. You don't have to go through all of this saving and exporting. It's actually much easier. So on my Dante character that's rigged, I have that body's proxy, the cloth body, and it has no blend shapes. I'm going to go into, I guess, beards. That's the one I downloaded with all the blend shapes. On my archived Fit A female, I'm going to go to Skinn, clipboard, copy. Now I'm going to go to bodies. Remember, this is the cloth base mesh with a consistent vertex order. Right click, Skinn, clipboard, paste, blend shapes, and notice it's plural. This is all the blend shapes. And now I'm just going to turn off Fit A. And yikes, Dante looks bad. Let me just select all of his meshes and drop a quick material onto him. Okay, now he's got all consistent materials. I'm going to hide his original body, the one with the inconsistent vertex order. Okay, now I have bodies, the one that we just transferred the blend shapes to. Let's see if it works. Ta-da! Now, as long as you can get this base mesh rigged, along with the proxy cloth body on it, you can transfer all these blend shapes in just a couple of clicks. You would also need to, copy the blend shapes from the teeth into the teeth, copy the blend shapes from the eyelashes into the eyelashes. The eyes, they show a bunch of blend shapes, the full blend shapes, but they're not actually there. It's just nothing. There's no data in there. But anyway, you get the idea. You're gonna have to like pump the blend shapes into all of the relevant base meshes, okay? Submeshes. So once you've done that, I'm not gonna do it, but let's pretend that we did. The only thing left to do is to export as FBX, and that's pretty easy. I've shown that in a previous video, but I just wanted to point out one thing real quick. When you export as FBX, you know, my head is in the way. Okay, so when you export to FBX and you get this pop-up, and it's going to go into a specific folder that you designate, and here it is, my exports folder. You have the option here of ASCII and binary, and oh my gosh, okay, once I did this and I exported ASCII, it was like 95 megs. When I exported as binary, it was like 16 megs. So binary is unintelligible for humans, but wow, it is so much more compact. And from that binary FBX, I was able to export into a completely different Unity project on my Mac, the one that you're seeing running this, running my avatar. All right. Okay, kids. That's everything. That's all I got for you. I hope that really helps. Give me a subscribe. Give me a like if this was, you know, if this taught you something. Now at the end, I'm going to let you off the hook, but just to be thorough, I'm going to go through the import settings, okay, to get this working, because it is a little bit specific. There are some tricks to how, some tricks and some limitations to doing this in Unity, and this is honestly the part that Blender failed, was because FBX, the rigged FBX, and the unrigged OBJ did not import the same. It did not preserve my vertex order. Unity's willing to do that, but I have to tell it to. So when you import FBX, OBJ, it's the same importer, even if it doesn't make sense being the same importer. Like there's no rig on this OBJ, but I still have a rig. I still have rig options here. You have to import it in a specific way with specific settings. Okay? I'm going to go through them. Just for this scene, I did not convert units. So these figures are actually like enormous. These are like 60 meters tall, or you know, 100 meters tall. I don't know. They're huge in the scene. It doesn't matter because we're just using the Unity as an importer exporter and grabbing these blend shapes. So I did not convert these units. I am importing blend shapes, even on the OBJ that has no blend shapes. I'm tagging it to import the blend shapes because I want it to be consistent with the FBX. I've turned off some of these things, the lighting, the cameras, you know, these would only be relevant if I was importing a scene to FBX. Again, it's here in the OBJ. Turn them off. I'm not preserving the hierarchy. What that does That just adds another game object. You will import your figure or your OBJ inside a game object. That's to kind of preserve its own hierarchy just by sticking it inside a game object. We don't want to do that. There's another option here, sort hierarchy by name. That means that all of these submeshes will be added, will be altered to be in alphabetical order. Don't do it. Mesh compression, off. We don't want Unity messing with our mesh. Read-write enabled, we need that turned on for Skinn, so that Skinn can access the meshes and copy and paste them. Optimize mesh, no. We want nothing. Do not fix my mesh. Leave it exactly the way it is. Generate colliders, nah. I didn't do it. Keep quads. Okay. Here's what you need to know about Unity. Keep quads. Sounds great because our our Fuse base mesh has mixed quads and triangles. So you think if you click keep quads, you're going to get that original base mesh that's the combination of quads and triangles. No, that's not what Unity is doing. If your base meshes, if all of your imported meshes are 100% quads, quad only meshes, selecting keep quads will keep their quads. Okay, it will not triangulate your mesh. However, if your mesh is a combination of quads and triangles, such as the Fuse base mesh, then Unity will, selecting this, Unity will split the mesh into two different meshes. So it will keep your quads, but on a different mesh. And the only way that I discovered this was because when I went to look at the bodies, I had two materials on everything. Because I had a material for the quad mesh and a material for the triangular mesh, and you know what, it just made it useless, and that is definitely not what we want. So the caveat of doing this inside Unity is that your meshes will be triangulated, because you don't want to hit this keep quads unless your meshes are 100% quads. I give you the straight dope, kids. Trial and error. This is experience. Keep quads. It's a mixed bag. Okay. So in my particular case, with the Fuse base meshes, I am not keeping quads. I am, however, welding the vertices. As long as you're consistent on the FBX and the OBJs that you're going to be combining and editing, I welded it, sure. There's even more. Okay, legacy blend shape normals. I tick that on, even though the OBJ has no blend shapes. Normals can be imported because normals are saved with your Fuse OBJ and the FBX, but smoothing angle, this has to do with tangents and tangents. If you have a really low poly mesh, crank up your smoothing angle to 180 degrees. That's for really low poly meshes. Okay? Because what that's going to do, that's just going to make your entire mesh look smooth. If you have body only, yeah, crank up the smoothing. If you have clothing, they might have some sharp edges. You might want to just let Unity handle the calculate space. And I looked this up. It's not that interesting, but basically every unless you have specific tangents, which Adobe Fuse does not do, you just want to calculate it. Alright, very long, very involved, but super important, this entire import settings process.